Well, there is such a thing called a quitter's day. Yes, people who quit. And that happens to be the second Friday of January. Hello and good evening. Exactly a month ago, that was December 31st, 2023, I released a video on New Year's resolutions. And in that, my focus was primarily what resolutions do people take? What are the different goals they set up? And most of my talk was on the pandemic, I call it, not epidemic, pandemic of obesity and overweight. And today, a month later, today is January 31st, 2024. I'm back again with a topic that talks about why 90% of resolutions fail. Hello, my name is Dr. Prakash Chougule. I'm a cancer specialist. By no means I'm a health expert or a nutritionist, but in my field of cancer, so many of these cancers are either stimulated or are predisposing factors because of other associated conditions, such as overweight, obesity, diabetes, heart disease. And when they do get treatment, how their treatment is often compromised and the outcome is compromised. I hope that you have had a chance to look at that video. And if you have not, I would suggest you listen to that video and then come into this video to see why 80% of them or 90% of them fail. So let's talk about the big picture about the fact that only 8% of people who take resolutions are able to carry it throughout 1 year. And you must have guessed, they are the ones who are rather disciplined and they do have previously established kind of consistency and commitment that the newcomers lack. So one of the reasons they fail is because they think too big, unrealistic goals. I'll give an example. For example, you get up in the morning, January 1st, after whether you partied or whether you drank or whatever, and splurged, doesn't matter. You wake up in the morning and say, this year I'm going to run a marathon. Well, first of all, you ask yourself a question, are you a runner? If you're not, is that a realistic expectation? A marathon is 26.2 miles. Most distance runners take about 9 months to prepare for a marathon. And one reason why they go in an incremental way, they do 5Ks, they do 8Ks, 10Ks, and eventually 5 miles or maybe half a marathon, and then they move on to the full marathon. So setting up a realistic goal is very important. And let's not even go to the extreme of marathons. Let's talk about somebody who has been sedentary, hardly ever does any exercise. To say that my neighbor walks 5 kilometers or 3 miles every day, I'm going to follow her or him. Well, are you used to that? Is it better to just do 15 to 20 minutes of regular walking and then go in an incremental way to your goal and then go to brisk walking, whatever? So that is what I'm talking about, thinking too big. And the other reason second reason is, you ask yourself a question, why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? Am I doing it because my uncle or my mother said, you're too lazy, you're not working out, you're eating too much, you're watching too much TV, and you're basically a slob. I mean, some people are very good at shaming other people. And it doesn't work. That person has to have a calling inside or a motivation from somebody else that they're really looking up to. So that brings up another reason for failure. Well, when you tag along or when you talk about somebody who is unfailingly upbeat, constant, there's so much energy and freshness in that person day in and out. That person sleeps 6 hours a day, works out 5 days a week, running, jogging, doing whatever activity. And suddenly you find yourself, you get depressed actually thinking about them, that you cannot attain that goal. So finding like-minded people and like-minded goals with people who are willing to join you sometimes can help. Coming to weight, well, you set up goals. This year, well, I am 50 pounds overweight and I'm going to shed off all 50 pounds in 12 months. Is that a realistic goal? Think about it. Divide that 50 pounds into 12 months or whatever and see what is realistic. And then go in an increment. Set up a goal, realistic goal. This year, are you able to shed maybe 20 pounds in 1 year, maybe about 5 pounds every 2 months or so? Setting up realistic goals. And then also setting up goals, how you're going to accomplish it. People talk about diet and exercise. How important is diet? How important is exercise? As I said in my first video, not so much braggingly, but proud that I weigh the same today that I weighed in college several years ago. Now, does that make me the healthiest person or super healthy? Well, it's a starting point, because not to say that thin-framed men and women can still have medical conditions. Anecdotes actually can be helpful, but it can also kill you. Because, I had an uncle who barely weighed a pound, about 120 pounds, and he had heart disease, lung disease. Well, you don't know the other story, whether he drank, smoked, whatever, or genetics. So that's one thing, that it's a good starting point to keep your risk low for getting diseases like heart disease, cardiovascular diseases, and diabetes, and so on and so forth. And then the other thing that is you talk about failure. Well, there is such a thing called a quitter's day. Yes, people who quit. And that happens to be the second Friday of January. Ironic, that's 2 weeks. That's when a lot of people fail. Quit, rather. Forget about the month. 90% of them have given up at the end of the month. But of that 90%, who knows? A good 70, 75% may have quit right in the middle of the month on the second Friday. I think, frankly speaking, that is the Black Friday to me, not the Friday after Thanksgiving where people go crazy for shopping and all that. That is the Black Friday, because it's a wake-up along. And the other thing is, who said that New Year's has to be the day for resolution? I personally, actually, when I give talks around on health, or any matter for that matter, cancer, why does somebody get cancer? I always tell them, use your date of birth or birth rate for starting a New Year's resolution. Controlling, setting up a goal that day for not only weight reduction or changing habits, but also to get yourself checked. I always feel that prevention is better than cure, right? A danger foreseen is half avoided. We don't go to doctors unless you have some sickness. A good 70 to 80% of the people don't even have a family doctor, or if they have it, they don't go unless they have a problem. I think getting yourself checked from top to bottom, in and out, once a year, no matter how healthy you feel, is probably a good starting point. So make an appointment. I have a doctor, whether I need one or not, I have a doctor, get myself checked, get the EKG, lung function test, vision, hearing, whatever testing, get that done. For women, getting a mammogram if you're at the right age, 50 and above. Men getting PSA for prostate cancer check. In the Western world, colonoscopy starts at age 50. In Japan and other countries, if esophagoscopy starts, because they have higher incidence of cancer of the esophagus. But the other thing that most people don't realize, that there's only maybe half a dozen cancers that can be diagnosed through testing. The remaining cancers, of the hundreds of cancers you can get, is a hidden box. A good physical exam may be a good starting point. Finding a lump in your breast that the mammogram had missed, or finding a lump on the prostate that the PSA may have been normal, and abdomen, this is the hidden box here. Somebody who's been saying, I've had weight pains here. Who knows? It could be the beginning of some problems such as colon problems, pancreas, liver, ovarian problems. So get that doctor on board and get that resolution. Now, the one question that I have to ask you is, what do you think are the 5 top resolutions that are broken? Well, actually, there's a 6th one that actually comes on absolutely on the top at 60%. Saving money. I just don't save money. I cannot. I'm doing 2 jobs, 3 jobs, or I'm surviving on a government check that comes every month, the social security check, whatever it is. Saving money, living a frugal life, and not throwing money on things that you don't need is a big problem. I read someplace that a good 60 to 70% of Americans have only reserve that will last them 6 months. Think about it. If one should ever get laid off or whatever, they have absolutely no savings long term. And that is a very scary statistic. That means you're going to be dependent. You see so many people, homeless people. Why? What happens? Once they come back and they quit their job, they can't find a job because their mindset is not there to save in the first place and do something right for themselves. So that's one thing. But let's come to the so-called health-related 5 items that people fail. Well, you might think it's losing weight or improving diet. Ironically, the toughest thing that people find to break is quitting alcohol. And I'll come back to that in a second. Number 2, exercise and fitness, of course. Number 3 is quitting smoking, cigarette smoking. Just to give some numbers, a good 45 to 50% of the people who drink alcohol have a hard time quitting. And then they fail. And then the exercise, a good 40% fail. Then smoking, a good 35% of them, they want to quit smoking, they cannot. Losing weight, that's the biggest battle of all, I think. Yes, it stands at number 4, but at least the reason it's at number 4, because some people maybe they do get some ground, losing 5 pounds, 8 pounds, whatever it is. Not as much as they'd like to. And the last one is improving diet. To me, if I were to change the order, diet and exercise, of course, but diet, what you put on your plate, what you eat, how much you eat, how many times a day you eat, and we'll come to that in a second. But those are the 5 reasons why people fail. Now, the other thing that, excuses rather, I should say. What are the excuses? Oh, geez, lack of time. I don't have time, I'm just too busy. Busy doing what? You take a 24-hour day. Let's assume you do sleep 8 hours, which to me, I know people, doctors and others say 8 hours. I 6 hours. But I'm sound asleep, sleep like a log. And maybe every 3-4 months, I do crash in the afternoon. I'm very physically active. I'm big time into gardening. I'm into sports quite a bit. When I play golf, I walk rather than riding a cart. That's 5 miles carrying a 35-pound bag, playing intense tennis, even yard work. Sometimes I'm out there for 7-8 hours. So you crash after such a workout. But I don't have time. Well, think about it. There are 24 hours in a day. There are 168 hours in a week. There's 720 hours in a month. And think about the aggregate total. You have 8,500 hours in a year. 8,640 hours in a year. And if you're trying to tell me you cannot find 2 hours per week, times 50 to 100 hours, out of 8,600, something is not wired correctly. Some people say the other excuse is motivation. I get motivated, but then I get depressed. I just cannot keep up with it. Yes, there are solutions for that too. And the third one is the lack of zeal just to get started. I don't even know how to begin and where to begin. So those are all the common excuses you find. The one thing that I would ask people, do you need a resolution? Is that the right word? Why not just a mantra? A mantra meaning, not for the sake of saying something, but a mantra that focuses on 2 or 3 things. And I'll give you 5 examples. One of them is happiness. If you're not happy with yourself, if your surroundings are such that it's very difficult for you to be happy, it actually is absolutely the basic foundation in your life of why you may not be healthy or not at peace. It's easier, it's a big topic by itself, but how do you make yourself happy? How do you surround yourself with people who make you happy? Social isolation is one of the worst things for a human being. I'll never forget, there was a young lady, a doctor who came from India, from Bombay, a few years ago actually, and she came to Harvard to do psychiatry. And she was she looked up to me and said, it's really amazing how you do what you do, that you're a cancer doctor. But Dr. Chougule, let me ask you a question. How many cancers are diagnosed each year? How many people die of cancer? Yes, it's a scary word. But she said depression, and this was several years ago, will be one of the most common diseases in just probably a generation from now. And it will take a tremendous toll. It may not kill a person, but it will kill the soul of a person and the soul of the family. And that actually has come true. Second, courage. I just don't have the courage. I don't have the confidence. People are bullying me. People are constantly putting me down. I don't know how to stand up to them. Just to find that guts and the nerve to say, I'm strong enough to stand any force that's trying to bring me down. Third, the strength. Strength meaning not just physical strength. Physical and mental strength to say, is it worth fighting for all of this? I'm not going to win. It's a losing battle. That's the mindset that you want to fight and build up an inner strength to say, I'm going to do it. Another thing is simplicity. We got so caught up in material things in life. I have to have a new car every 3 years. I don't care what. I want a new car. Here I'm driving a 15-year-old car that has 300,000 miles, which I bought secondhand in the first place, a 2-year-old car. Something that I believe that new cars, in my opinion, are, what is a car at the end of the day? I don't want to say it's a box that takes you from point A to point B, but it's a necessity, takes you places. But does it have to be this car? Oh, I have to have a Gucci purse. How much is it? Oh, it's $800, but I love that purse. Detaching yourself from material things and accepting the fact, what am I getting into? What am I getting trapped into? Is something that sometimes it has to come from inside. And last but not the least, generosity. One thing I have found, the generosity giving is something a very established industrialist in New Delhi gave me a book called The Ultimate Gift. To me, it's a paperback book. It's probably one of the most eye-opening gifts that one could one could read. But bottom line is that you could be a millionaire, or you could be making just about 30,000-40,000 a year, or you could barely be surviving check to check. The giving bug is in you. And I'm going to share one story about philanthropy in general. Almost 2 decades ago, there was a massive earthquake that hit India, killing thousands and making millions homeless. And just out of gut instinct, when there's a natural calamity, the emotions are quite high. And I just kind of put an ad in the healthcare system. There's about 8 or 10,000 people, employees, doctors alike, thinking that I might raise $5,000. And in 5 days, I raised $50,000. Now, in the big scope of things, it was a small amount. But the important thing is, when I got these checks, I personally hand wrote to everybody, thanking them. There was a woman, a nurse. She said, Dr. Chougule, my heart is bleeding right now thinking about the people back in your home country. Basically, I simply said, Gandhi's soul is turning upside down. I need your help. And that one-line email generated all of that. But she said, would you accept $12? And I don't think she knew I had to call her and tell her that $12 will feed one child for almost a month in a famine situation. Another nurse, she said, Dr. Chougule, I'm Jewish and we believe 36 is the lucky number for us. Would you accept $36? It's these stories that touch you, giving. So open your mind and start giving, and you will realize how it's helping you inside. Your health gets better. You feel good about it. So I'm going to stop right there and hope that your New Year's resolution don't stop. If you have quit on that second Quitters Friday, pick it up again. And hopefully when I see you, and now I'm not going to see you in July 31st, I'm going to see you next December 31st or maybe January 1st. See if that number, that the 90% that fail, I hopefully would like to see that maybe that number is down to 60-70%. With that, I wish you all the best. Stay healthy, stay fit, stay positive, be happy, be strong, be generous, and live a simple life. Thank you.